This is a story I pulled for Paul. Hopkins researchers recommend reclassifying psilocybin, the drug in magic mushrooms, from Schedule 1 to Schedule 4.
Yep.
So, Paul, you were talking extensively with Stevie the other day about magic mushrooms, and I thought maybe you could talk about some of that here.
Yeah, it's just something that I was reading about a little bit. I actually listened to a talk between Joe Rogan and a biologist whose name escapes me about stoned ape theory, which, is a theory that some scientists are kind of given some credibility to explain the massive expansion of the human cranium and this massive leap we made from this tribalistic kind of lower animal to what we understand as humans, building things and shit. Mm-hmm. And we don't really know the answer to it, and some people posit that the answer might be that way back in our evolutionary history, an ancestor of ours came across these mushrooms growing up out of the dung of some prairie animal or some shit, ate them, had a profound experience, as one is wont to do when they eat these fucking mushrooms, and it became a ritualistic thing within that troop, and that spread throughout, our early ancestors, and accounts for the rapid development of...
And you also talked about some of the things that it could apply, the uses it could have today for our society, the psilocybin.
Right. They've done some studies that show that it just massively decreases depressive and anxiety symptoms, that it's a great de-stressor. Like in terms of people taking it and microdosing it and using it, like not to get super fucked up, but just it's a serotonin replacement. So for people that have trouble manufacturing serotonin, depressives being at the head of that group, this could be like a vitamin that they take that helps with their symptoms.
So here's what the John Hopkins researchers are saying. We want to initiate the conversation now as to how to classify psilocybin to facilitate its path to the clinic and minimize logistical hurdles in the future. So these scientists are pretty eager to study the medicinal purposes.
Well, there's so much evidence from limited studies that suggest that these things are really very powerful at helping the human psyche. And like Paul said, creatively, but not only that, through mental illness. And I know the thing you're referring to, and it's something that it's kind of like to me like CBD oil and weed. It's like this has so many palliative effects that could be so useful, and it's not really habit forming.
Well, it's at a time too when we've got this huge mental health crisis looming, and it's a possible natural method. I mean, I think I read somewhere that they're looking at its effectiveness on smokers.
Yeah, it says, although preliminary research suggests that psilocybin may be effective for smoking cessation and for disorders such as cancer-specific depression and anxiety, it must clear Phase 3 clinical trials before the Food and Drug Administration can be petitioned to reclassify it. So it's in the process of being studied. It's showing tremendous potential. And unfortunately, it being on the Schedule 1 drugs list makes that research way more difficult
than
it probably needs to be. And all for a drug
that's to say that it has no medicinal value.
Real ill effect on society, if we're to be honest.
But by calling it, but it's academically and scientifically dishonest. It's saying that it has no benefit. It's saying it's basically only for recreation. There's no other benefit, which, I mean, I'm fine with it just being for that, but there's actually other... The evidence suggests there are other benefits.
I mean, the more that we look at these drugs, the more that we find uses for them outside of their recreational use. The dude that was talking to Joe Rogan said that, he thinks that it should be reclassified as a vitamin and available over the counter.
I totally agree.